Good morning, Rayman. This is just a sort of unofficial episode because I need more time to pull the episode together, and I also got increasingly frustrated without an official map. This is also my second attempt on recording this video because the first time it just kind of broke. So I made a map. Most of this is based on knowledge that we have, with some educated historical guesses based on how things were at the time and so on and so forth. Now, to start, it's worth noting that in this world, colonialism did not happen. So I have taken that to mean all colonialism. Here's the exact quote from the semi-official Discord. Colonization did not happen. They would not resemble the nations of today. However, the Spaniards have established trade routes to South America. Hence, staples such as tobacco, potatoes, cocoa, and such are available in Europe and Africa. Now, we'll start with this area. As we know, the forces of hell took the Levant, and they have spread out into Egypt, and they're pushing further down into Abyssinia. They are stopped from progressing further by Nubia, and Abyssinia. But because they are leading invasions into Abyssinia, I have assumed they've probably taken a bit over here. Now, we do know Mecca and Medina are covered in sandstorms, as I'll get into in the next episode. Baghdad might be free, but I don't know for sure. We've obviously got New Antioch is holding steady, as is Alamut, the mountain fortress of the Assassins, and here we've got the Iron Sultanate. Now, we know they've taken Byzantium, and there seems to be the theocracy of Hellas is relatively stable. Now, they also got stopped at Wallachia. Whether they continued on to Wallachia, we don't know, but they also made their way to Czechia, over here. Now, Valorad is in Greater Moravia. I don't know if Greater Moravia is independent or if it's part of the Holy Roman Empire. The Holy Roman Empire has also owned parts of Italy, so I don't know how much of that they own versus the papacy, but I've given the papacy a decent chunk of land. Now, the Free States of Prussia, I don't know, because I don't know. The Free States of Prussia didn't exist in this time period in history. They existed 4 years after. So I've given them their historical borders, but I don't know how much of their historical borders they actually own. Don't know what the deal with France is, how much of it's France, so on and so forth. So I've just given it rough France, and I've maintained England's control over Normandy. Brittany also didn't merge with France until the 1500s, so I'm assuming maybe Brittany never bothered merging with France, and they are relatively independent. I don't know what the deal with Portugal is, but we've got Spain holding steady at Cordoba. After the Hell Crew took Gibraltar, pushed further up, they got stopped at Cordoba, so the majority of Spain, I have assumed, relatively independent. Now, we got England doing their England stuff, so I assume because colonization didn't happen, they didn't take Wales, they didn't colonize Wales, which is also why we've got an independent Albert and an independent Eyre. Now, I gave the Zulus just more land, because they would have been around this time and no English stopped them. They would have just gradually expanded, presumably. Now is where we start getting, well, this is already into speculation territory, sorry, but now we start getting into the more speculation territory of the rest of the old world. And no, you can't make me draw all the independent Indian kingdoms. I refuse. With no colonization, India wouldn't have unified. There are so many cultures and so many languages in India, unless there was an extreme force, which if they were being attacked by the Hell Crew, you could assume maybe they unified into one state, but I doubt it. It's kind of a stretch, and I am not going to do that. I'm not going to draw every single independent Indian kingdom. You cannot make me. Then we've got giant spiders. How else could China have all the silk? There's no possible way they could make silk without the usage of giant spiders. Now, China also will own all of this bit of land, because that bit of land was taken by Russia during the Opium Wars, a war that wouldn't have happened in this world. Also, worth noting, Russia, quite famously, not a part of the Opium Wars. They just kind of, in an impressive display, took an extremely large amount of land in a war they didn't fight in. Now, in the next episode, I'll get into what the deal with Mongolia is. I don't know the state of Mongolia. Now, I think it would be fun if the Heavenly Kingdom of Great Peace is still around. That being the Christian revolution in China started by the alleged brother of Jesus. That might be neat, but with no colonialism, China also wouldn't have colonized Taiwan. I don't know if Taiwan would have unified, but I've just marked it down as a separate entry, just so it's like, oh, China never colonized this. I don't know enough about Korean history to make any firm statement about what's going on with Korea. Japan might still have traded with the Namban to modernize their technology with guns and the like. However, without the pressure from foreign countries, they would have most likely maintained isolationist, and they would have most likely maintained as a shogunate. But colonization never happened, so they wouldn't have colonized Hokkaido, which means Hokkaido would still be under Ainu control. Now, we get further down. I just sort of threw a name here. So we've got the unified tribes of Mwatij. That pronunciation might be wrong. That is the one of the local mobs' names for Arnhem Land in modern Australia. There are a lot of indigenous tribes in Australia in this region specifically, like a lot. So, hence they would be unified. They wouldn't be a singular tribe. There are so many mobs in that region, and all with their own distinct languages and all that. So, I just sort of unified tribes, and I picked one. But an interesting historical note is 4,000 years ago, there was a mass migration of Indians into Northern Territory, Australia, which caused a technological leap at the time and the introduction of dingoes as a species into Australia. Dingoes are quite often assumed to be a native Australian animal. They are not. They are an introduced invasive species. But maybe India came back around, started trading, caused another technological leap, or we know since at least the 1200s, since I believe the 1200s, China was aware of Australia. It has appeared on their maps. So maybe they traded with Australia and the indigenous in this region, and that caused, the advanced technology into modern technology. Much the same, we've got the assorted Polynesian kingdoms. I just sort of marked them as note because there is compelling evidence that Polynesians had interacted with Native Americans prior to Old World interactions with Native Americans through the presence of sweet potato and the fact that Native American word for sweet potato was very similar to a lot of the Polynesian words for sweet potato, suggesting a shared linguistic origin. So it is most likely they interacted, which, as the Native Americans are interacting with the Spanish, possibly there was some trade between the Native Americans and the Polynesians, bringing Polynesians to modern technology, allowing them to participate within the setting. Then we move over to the Americas. We got the Incans. I rapidly expanded the Incans border. That's about all I did there. We also have the Spanish trading post, because we know Spain is trading with them. In theory, they have a trading post, whether it be a permanent colonial settlement or just simply an office in a city. I just chucked it here because I could. It could be literally anywhere. And then we got the Aztecs. Contrary to popular belief, the Aztecs were not a failing empire. They were cut down in their infancy. They were very early on in their lifespan. So without any colonial influence, they were able to expand rapidly, in theory, and therefore have borders that might much more align with modern Mexico. And then, admittedly, I do not know enough about North American Native Americans. So I just sort of added the Mississippian cultures, the Mound City cultures. Maybe they've just got, a modern, civilization stretching all the way up the Mississippi with access to firearms, guns, weaponry, and maybe that's where the Thompson comes from. The Thompson that appears in the artwork, a gun from America. Or maybe the British just happened to invent Thompsons. That is my rough map that I created. Again, sorry for no episode this week, just been busy. And we'll have it next week. And then we'll be off for a bit. Well, there'll still be videos coming out. There'll still be content coming out. But it'll be more... It'll be different stuff. It's not Good Morning Ratman episodes. Good Morning Ratman will be taking a brief hiatus until January, where we will come back, and we will come back stronger than ever. And also, more importantly, with Corgi, I really hate doing these videos on my own. It's really boring. I enjoy the research, but when I'm just sitting in a room for an hour and a half talking to myself, and then I make all these jokes and there's no feedback, and it's just sort of like, oh, this sucks. So, we'll be back next week. Most likely on my own. Very small chance Corgi will be able to join us. It depends how quickly I get the script completed. But and then we'll be back in January. Anyway, thank you for watching this video that admittedly is not very good. As I said, this is my second attempt at recording this. I am currently recording this at 1:30 a.m. I am tired and all I've had is a coffee. The first time was better. The audio is better, but it's desynced to everything and I don't know what's gone wrong. Woo! Fucking technical problems. I love it. It's great. Anyway, goodbye.